We are doing chapter 31, Sai Satcharita, Importance of Sai Darshan. My obeisance to Sri Ganesh, to Sri Saraswati, to Sri Guru Maharaj, to the family deity, to Sita Ramachandra, my most humble obeisance, I bow in reverence to the most venerable Guru Shri Sai Nath. In the last chapter, I have narrated the story of a devotee of Saptashringi and also how Sai got Madhav Rao's vow fulfilled. How he gave darshan to Kushal Sheth and Ram Lal in a dream, and how he kept Ram Lal with him till his own nirvana. But this present story is even more unique. May the listeners listen attentively to how a sannyasi who on his way to Manas Lake suddenly attained liberation. How Baba fulfilled the wishes of Mankar, Noolkar and Megha. But these were all men, while Baba gave refuge at his feet to even a most ferocious tiger. The stories are rather long, which will add to the bulk of the book. So I shall briefly narrate only their essence, which will benefit the listeners. As is their thought at the time of death, so is the next birth that comes to the creature. Out of fear, insects become bees, and out of this love for this young one of the deer, Jada Bharat was born deer in the next birth. Whatever the form before the mental eye in the moment of death, it is that same form in which the next birth comes. But he who has surrendered humbly at the feet of God has no rebirth, as it is the reason that devotees were encouraged to cultivate the habit of ceaselessly chanting the name, so that when the end came, they may not be bewildered, but remember to take the name, alert all his life. But if a man slumbers in the moment of death, then the ultimate purpose of his keeping the holy company, all his life is wasted. Hence the simple, the guileless among the devotee entrust themselves in the hands of the saint. For the saints who know about the birth or rebirth or otherwise, they alone are our companions in the hour of death. This is an important lesson over here which you need to know. Whatever is the thought that you end your life with, the last thought, that last thought gets converted into your next life. Now you will wonder what it is that has converted that thought into the next life. Remember, I told you that it's the thought which creates the object, right? So, whatever is your thought, let us say for example you are thinking of a bee, or suppose a snake has bitten you and you are thinking of the snake and you are dying. At that point in time, the next life of yours will be converted into that thought, because the thought is there, it is converting itself into a new life. It's the same thing which we were talking about in the Srimad Bhagavatam, where the divine is sleeping on the Adishesh, on the ocean of milk, and he is thinking of this world, dreaming about. That dream becomes a reality. So here in this case also, when you are thinking so much about this thought process, this thought gets converted into a reality. So whatever is our thought, that thought is very, very potent. See, I had told you that one day I will explain to you how the thought gets converted into the reality. What I will do is, tomorrow I will do a very tiny lesson in this aspect at the beginning of the chapter, so that you will understand. So this entire process of how the thought gets converted, what exactly happens, we will do tomorrow in the beginning of the satsang. So that's a different set of understanding that you will get. So just now we will continue. So just for your information, remember, any potent thought that is there has got power of converting itself into a reality, that is our physical reality. Alright? So as you listen to the sweet tale in this connection which took place in Sai's presence, you will see, O listeners, Sai's affection for the devotee. Oh, where Madras, where Shirdi, and where the steep climb of Manas Sarovar. But when the devotees' time was up, how Baba would draw them to himself, bringing them at his feet. Once a sannyasi from Madras named Vijayananda set out very enthusiastically from Madras to go to Manas Sarovar. Having seen a map of the Manas Sarovar which a Japanese traveller had, he firmly resolved in his mind to see the Manas Sarovar. He touched Shirdi while on the way, where he heard much about Baba's great. So with a keen desire for Baba's darshan, he came in search of his dwelling place. When he heard that Sai Maharaj was a great saint with a worldwide renown, he wished to take his darshan and stopped at Shirdi on his way. At that time, Swami Somdevji of Haridwar was in Shirdi. So they happened to meet each other in the midst of other devotees. The sannyasi then asked him How far is Manasarovar? And the Swami said, from Gangotri, that is the source of the Ganga, it is 500 miles above. There is heavy snowfall there. After every 100 miles, the language changes. The Bhutanese become suspicious too. Foreign travelers face great difficulties. On receiving such information from the Swami, the sannyasi was crestfallen. His mind had become unsettled and he was quite worried. He took Sai Baba's darshan prostrating at his feet and his mind became calm and happy. He sat down in the sitting posture. Suddenly Baba's anger was provoked. He said to the people, drive this sannyasi away. His company is of no avail to us. As it was, the sannyasi was new and did not know Baba's nature. Although in his mind he felt quite abashed, he sat down observing the service that the devotees rendered Baba. It was the morning darbar and the mosque was packed with people. The puja articles that the devotees had brought and the rituals they were being performed were quite amazing to the sannyasi. Some devotees were washing Baba's feet, taking the holy water from Baba's toe in a spoon. Some were drinking it while others applied it to their eyes. Yet others were applying the sandalwood paste to him while some smeared him with fragrant perfume. They had become quite oblivious to the caste restrictions between Brahmins, Shudras and other castes. Although Baba had become angry, the sannyasi himself was overwhelmed with love. He would not move back an inch or get up from where he sat. He had hardly been to Shirdi for 2 days when he received a letter that his mother was seriously ill at the village. He became very sad. He felt that he should go back to his own place and meet the mother. But he would not leave without Baba's permission. Letter in hand, the sannyasi went to the mosque and describing his mother's condition began to entreat Baba. Maharaj Sai Samar, there is a longing in the heart for meeting my mother. Please give me permission gladly, take pity on this traveler. He came running and catching hold of Baba's feet and said, will you kindly give me permission? My mother must be lying on the ground, her life in her throat. But she must be waiting for me. Let me go and see her at least, so that the pain will become bearable for her and her end will be peaceful. Sai Samarth knew intuitively that the sannyasi's own life itself was coming to an end. So listen attentively to what Baba then said to him. If there was so much attachment to the mother, then why did you accept these robes? Such attachment does not become this attire. You have brought disgrace to the saffron robes. Go sit in peace. Do not be sad. Let a few days pass and then we shall decide what to do. Have patience and courage. In the Vada there are many thieves. Fasten the doors and be alert, for they will rob you of your all and attack you fiercely. Prosperity is never permanent. As for this body, it is forever transient. Knowing that death is always near, conduct yourself according to dharma. In this world, the feeling of me and mine with regards to this body, wife, sons, etc. and threefold afflictions resultant thereof, these are called the calamities of the worldly life. The second calamity is outer worldly. The outer worldly are heavens of which people are desirous after death. Even that is an obstacle to the attainment of moksha or liberation and tends always to bring about a fall back to earth. No merit can be accumulated in that world nor in that attainment freedom free from fear. From there too the fear of a fall once the merit is exhausted is undoubtedly present. Hence, both the worldly and the outer worldly existence are fraught with calamities. Therefore, to renounce them totally is the cause of origin of pure happiness. We have been doing this, I think, for the last many years. We are running after material things. If not material things, outer worldly things. I want to go to heaven. Going to heaven sounds like a very easy thing. But what is Baba saying over here? He is saying that heaven is also a place where it's like a return ticket is there available to us. There is no permanent vacancy there. You have to come back. And when you are back on this material world again, you are going to face the same thing. Most important part over here, what Baba has told him is, if somebody has accepted sannyasa, somebody has accepted the robes, those robes which they wear, ochre color robes which you wear, or has thought that I have taken sannyas, a person is not supposed to have any relationship of any kind with anybody in this world. He is renounced completely, so there is no mother, brother, sister, husband, wife, children, nothing in this world. That is why Baba has said over here, see, if you have taken the saffron robes, the attachment to the attire or attachment to the material world in this is not allowed. So what you have to do? You have to give up everything. You have to give up everything and go. And this is a very tough thing for a normal human being to do. Take up sannyas. Sannyas ashram is extremely tough. And there you are not allowed, even if your mother is dying, your father is dying, somebody is going, this is happening, that is happening. No reasons are allowed. You have to stay where you are. Because you don't have any relations in this world except the God. Secondly, he says, there is nothing like me and mine. And then again, you cannot have any relationship with any heaven of any kind. So you cannot say, I want to go to Brahma's heaven or Vishnu's heaven or something like that. You are not allowed that also. So these are two things which he is talking about. Disgusted with worldly life, those who are absorbed steadfastly at God's feet will be freed from the bondage of worldly life, and the hold of Maya or ignorance over them will disappear. The moment of God's worship, his remembrance, drives away sin, affliction and distress. When remembered lovingly, he comes to our rescue in the time of trouble. Great is our accumulated merit that you have come to this place. Now give attention to my words and find fulfilment in this life. From tomorrow, begin a study of the Bhagavad. Complete 3 saptas of that book earnestly with your thought, action and speech. Becoming free from all desires, listen to the reading of this book or yourself read it with full faith and with a readiness to contemplate upon it deeply again and again. God will then be pleased and will put an end to all your sorrows. Maya, temptation will be calmed down and you will enjoy true happiness. See, in this line there is again a very important word which has got used. Maya, temptations. Temptations are nothing but Maya's own domain. Okay? She is very alluring. She creates all these otherworldly and this worldly stuff. Magic. She creates colors. She creates sounds, she creates all sorts of things. Now when I say sounds also, what is this sound that we are talking about? Now something that is very very pleasant to hear, something that is pleasant to see as the colors or things. Now if we are attracted towards a particular sound and at the end of our life also we are interested in listening to that, do you remember when somebody is dying, that person says, I want to see this person for the last time in my life. You know, many of these old people, when they are about to die, they have said, I want to see maybe their granddaughter or grandson or somebody like that they want to see. Again, they want to hear their voice. You are attracted towards that voice, you are attracted towards this person. It's going to keep you trapped in that material world again and again. It is going to bring you back. So you need to give up all these things. So Maya can come in any form. Okay? Suppose there is a bird, you are listening to the tweeting of the bird also, and you die while tweeting, thinking about the bird. You will become a bird. I'm sorry. That is what you may end up being. Okay? If you Jada Bharat story where he is a great sage, he goes to the jungle, he does all his tapasarya and all that, and suddenly he finds that there is one, a deer which is hurt, and he protects the deer. And then he gets so much engrossed in the deer that finally, when he is dying, he cannot leave the deer and go away. He still wonders, somebody will come and take this deer away and something will happen to it. And that is a trap. Maya creates such kind of beautiful traps. So you need to be very, very careful about this. So when he is doing the sapta, basically when you are reading a holy book, your mind is totally engrossed in that form of the Lord. Now why the Bhagavad? It's because it is about Krishna and his avatars. Isn't it the same book that Parikshit was also doing? So Parikshit had asked, what is it that has to be done which will keep me completely at the feet of the Lord? So this is a very important book that we are doing. After ablutions with the mind concentrated on Hari, complete this observance fully and you will be free from temptations. When Baba knew that his own life was nearing its end, he followed the same practice and got Ram Vijay read out to him, by which Shankar, the conqueror of death, is pleased. The next day in the morning after the ablutions, he offered flowers to Baba and applied the dust from Baba's feet to his head. Tucking the Bhagavad under his arm, he selected a quiet and a peaceful lane to ensure seclusion needed for reading. Seated in a yogic asana, he then started reading. A sannyasi engaged all the time in God worship, he easily completed 2 saptahas. As he was about to start the third, suddenly he felt restless. He began to feel a growing weakness, so he left the reading incomplete where it was. He returned to the Vada and had hardly passed 2 days with difficulty when at the third day dawn, Bua closed his eyes forever. With his head on Fakir Baba's lap, the sannyasi died in peace, freed from the body of all earthly desires. When Baba was told about the sannyasi's death, he commanded that the body be preserved for 1 day. Do not bury him just yet, he said. So very hopefully people guarded his body, thinking that he may be revived into life again. But once the life is extinguished, is it going to be revived again? And yet Baba's words were truth. So they preserved the body, and in effect it did come useful. The unclaimed body was taken care of, and the suspicion of the police were allayed. Once dead, what life can there be in the body? And did Baba not know how to restore the dead to life? But his purpose was that, without a proper inquiry, the corpse should not be buried under the ground. Whatever is unclaimed belongs to the government, and an inquiry is held in case of a sudden death. Baba had put up this pretext so that the corpse may not be buried without proper inquiry. And all this came about later on. The last rites were then performed on the corpse, and it was given a burial in the proper place. The saint's purpose was then accomplished. I shall now narrate to the listeners another tale. Listening to it carefully for a moment, and Sai's all-pervasiveness will be revealed to you. Balakram, whose surname was Mankar, was a great devotee of Baba. He was a householder, but later on his wife died, making it difficult to fulfill his duties of a householder. He lost his peace of mind, but that in turn was to bring him the greatest good fortune. By the fruit of the accumulated merit, he came into Sai's holy company, and there grew a steadfast devotion to Sai and full detachment from worldly life. Okay, one more thing which I will tell you. Why is it important to preserve the body for some time? It is because the japa which is going on. Now let us assume that Bua was a very good devotee of the Lord, and in his mind the japa was going on. Alright? The japa continues even after the body has become cold. So you will still find that the bones can also sing the same japa. Now you will find that this story is true, whereas the great sage from Iran, as Persia, where he said Anal Haq. So even after his body was cut down into pieces, every part of the body was singing Anal Haq. And that is a fact. And most of the great sages, their bodies, they do not deteriorate the way our bodies will deteriorate. See, our bodies are made up of Panchabhutas. We start deteriorating the moment we leave the body. The signs of life have gone. But the sages' lives are not like that. They continue to hover over there for some time. Why is it that they do? Because they have to complete something. So you will find that the sages normally keep on continuing for some time. You will find that most of the awliyas are sages. Okay, these are the peers. They are there in all parts of India and the world rather. If you ever go to their mazar, their place where the body is buried, you can still find that their bones can still sing, by the way. Alright? So maybe if you go to say Rajasthan, where what is that cold place over there high up in the mountains, there, or you go to Delhi, or you go to I don't know many places in India. There are places in Kashmir also where the Sufi saints are buried. You will find that it happens that you can actually hear them, you can talk to them, their bones can still listen to you. Same happens in Shirdi as well. Baba was an awliya, was a saint. He was a Sufi saint, and being a Sufi saint, they have the power to be there wherever they have been buried. So that is the reason why it is so. And remember, Bua was a Hindu, correct? And yet he was buried. It is mentioned that he is buried. Doesn't it sound very strange? So naturally he must have been a great saint. Otherwise that would not have happened. Severing the ties of hopes and desires of the children and the family, this remarkably fortunate Mankar renounced his worldly life. Service of others, which in worldly life is an ornamental necklace, but in spiritual life is obstacle. Mankar put around his son's neck, thus putting a lock on all his worldly duties. See, this is something which we need to understand. Service of others, which in worldly life is an ornamental necklace, but in spiritual life it's an obstacle. Those who are on the path of spiritual find that serving some other person is the most difficult thing in the world. It is not possible to accept service from anybody. Maybe work for a company or do some business or whatever. Because spiritual life brings about a change which is called dispassion, detachment. These are the two D's that come into our picture, and we cannot even focus in our material world of doing some work for somebody. So this kind of detachment and dispassion comes in a person, and to accept an ochre robe is still very difficult. But if you accept an ochre robe and you become a sannyasi, there are no chances of you coming back. If you come back, there is a very big problem. You should not. But anyway, if you have gone on the path of spiritual, these are the tough things that you need to face. So for current yuga, the thing is, what is mentioned by Baba and what is mentioned by Ramakrishna Paramahansa is, you be in both the places. Don't bother about it. Say, even in one of the earlier stories, now one name has come over here called Balakram Mankar, isn't it? There also, Ramakrishna Paramahansa had a very great devotee called Balram. Okay, and he tells Balram the same thing. He says, don't worry, you can be there as well as here. You are like a frog. So you can be there on water and you can be on land, both the places. You are an amphibian. So Mankar put around his son's neck, thus putting a lock on all his worldly duties. This too is a kind of a sannyas. For many are the ways of taking sannyas, but that sannyas in which efforts made to attain Brahmanyana do not succeed can create trouble at every step. So any person who is taking a sannyas for attaining the Brahmanyana is the biggest fool on earth, because it is not possible. To become a Brahmanyani, you have to become like Sukadeva Goswami. You cannot be like a normal human being. Okay. So, but on seeing Mankar's single-minded devotion, Sai, who is kindness incarnate, bestowed favors upon him and made him steadfast in his renunciation. The innumerable influences of past birth that have enveloped him would not allow Mankar's wavering mind to steady. Tumultuous waves of heartfelt desires made it difficult for him to be firm in his renunciation. So to prove it with direct experience that his place is not in Shirdi alone but he transcends time and space, Sai commanded Mankar, enough of Shirdi now. Take these 12 rupees for travelling expenses and go to Machindragarh, which is a fort near Satara, for penance. Stay there with a firm resolve to attain happiness. On hearing Sai's word, he respectfully obeyed his command, prostrating at the feet in obeisance. Balram then said to Sai with great humility, "What will I do there, where I cannot even have your darshan? Here I can take your darshan daily, I can drink the holy water washed off your feet, I can meditate on you effortlessly day and night, but there it will be me and me only, a petty lowly creature. Therefore, Baba, I am not able to understand what I can gain without you there. Why do you send me to that place?" But a devotee should not entertain even the slightest doubt about his Guru's words, thought Mankar. The very moment, and his mind was cleared of all doubts. And he said, "Forgive me, Baba. My thoughts are born of petty mind, mean mind. I am ashamed of my doubts. Such doubting does not become me. I am but your obedient servant, engaged in chanting your name all the time. I shall stay happily even in that God only for your strength." God means a fort. "There too I shall meditate on you, remember your compassion face, and will contemplate on you and you alone. This will be my constant penance. I have surrendered to you single-mindedly, and when once I have left the decision of my coming and going in your hands, why should I entertain such a doubt in my mind? The power of your command will give me peace of mind even there. When so mighty is your power, why should I worry needlessly? Sai Samarth is the eternal Brahma, and his words are like everlasting truth. He who tries and reposes trust in them will experience their truth fully." Baba then said to him, Listen to my words with an alert mind. Do not be riddled with doubts. Go to Machindragarh quickly. Meditate 3 times every day. After some time has elapsed, you will experience bliss. On getting such an assurance, Mankar was silenced. What can I, a poor creature, say? He was ready to go to the Garh. Once again he bowed at Sai's feet, and after taking Udi Prasad and blessings, he then set out with an easy mind to go to Machindra Bhavan. On reaching there, he was happy to see the beautiful place with pure clean water and a soft blowing breeze. Sent by Sai but still away from him, Mankar began his penance as per Baba's instruction and as directed by him. But just see Baba's marvel. While Mankar was engrossed in the meditation, Baba actually gave him darshan on the Garh. Mankar had this experience himself. That one should get darshan while in the state of samadhi is not surprising. But Mankar saw Shri Sai Samarth while fully awake and sitting in a yogic posture. This is again a thing which you need to understand. Sometimes with your eyes open you can see the person. This happens quite often when there are great sages. They don't need to come in your dream or something like that. You can see them sitting right in front of you and you can see them perfectly. What happens to us is we have doubts later on. Oh, did I see or didn't I see? That is your doubt. Faith is required at that point in time. That person is there. You may think he doesn't exist or she doesn't exist, but the person very much is there. You will find that Jesus was seen walking towards meeting his people, and he first met Mary Magdalene, and Mary was surprised. Now see, remember, the form that we are seeing is a spiritual form, is basically a spirit form, and the spirit forms look and the way they are may differ slightly. About 15 to 20% difference will be there in that person. So there is a slight difference because it's not a physical body per se. So she is not able to gauge who he is. So she asks him, and he says, "Oh, don't you know me? Just a few days ago I was put over there and now I am walking in front of you." Easter is coming around the corner, so now you know how soon it is. So it is so surprising, and then he says, "Go and tell others I am coming." So is it the truth? Is it real? These questions will always dog a person. They will wonder whether they have seen or they have not. And it is not only after death, by the way. It is not required that it is seen after death. It is during their life also. When they are alive, they are existing in the world. The person can be sitting right near your bedstead. I'm not joking. While you may be just falling asleep or something, and your eyes will suddenly open and you will see the person sitting at the bedstead and looking at you or talking to you. I mean, there are various stories, and I think last time I had told you also various stories of this kind, and there are some of you over here who have had experiences like that. So I think it is very important to remember that these are some things we should never discount. So when Mankar, who is seeing Baba over there, he looks at him in wonder. And not only did he see him with his own eyes, but Balram actually asked him, "Baba, why have you sent me here?" What was Baba's reply? "While in Shirdi many notions, many doubts assailed your mind, therefore your doubting, hesitant mind was appointed to go to the Garh. For you, I do not exist outside Shirdi, and apart from this abode that is 3.5 cubits in length, which is made up of layers upon layers of a mixture of 5 elements like the earth, water, etc. But I, whom you see here and now, are the same as the one there. See it for yourself properly and at your ease. Know that I sent you away from there for this same reason." When the intended purpose period was over, Mankar left Machindragarh to return to his own place. He lived at Bandra and felt like going there, so he planned to go from Pune up to Dadar by train. He went to the Pune station, and when it was time to buy a ticket, he went to the ticket window where a miracle took place. A traveller who was a stranger to him and was dressed like a kunbi, with a langoti round his waist and a coarse blanket on his shoulder, was seen standing near the window. These are low caste people. Having bought a ticket from Dadar, the Kunbi turned back, and as his eyes met Balram's, he approached him. Now, in ancient times, people never, mixed around with people of other caste. Actually, that is the wrong thing. But still, I am a Brahmin, I am this, I am that. So, yet, now see what happens. He approached him. Where are you going? He asked, and when Balram said, to Dadar, he gave the ticket to him, saying, you take this now. I was to go there, and I have suddenly remembered that I have another important work here. Hence, I have cancelled my going. Mankar was only too happy to get the ticket so effortlessly, which even after spending one's money, it is difficult to obtain. So to pay for the ticket, as Mankar took out the money from his pocket, suddenly the Kunbi forced his way through the crowd and disappeared. Where he slipped away, Mankar could not make out. Balram made great efforts to trace the Kunbi, and after all in vain. Meanwhile, the train had also arrived. With no shoes, no chappals in the feet, a rag tied round his head, a blanket on his shoulders, and a loincloth round his waist, who was this Kunbi brother? The fare was by no means small, but that too he paid in cash out of his own pocket. Why, oh why the burden of obligation on me? I cannot solve this puzzle. In outward appearance, a Kunbi, but so generous, so desireless at heart. Who could this Kunbi have been? It was something that remained unresolved to the end, leaving Mankar with many regrets. Full of amazement and with hope of meeting the Kunbi, he remained standing near the door till the train was moving out. When the train did finally move out, knowing that all hope of finding him was at the end, he quickly caught the vertical rod of the door and jumped into the compartment. On the gut there was an actual meeting with Sai, and so was here, but in a different way. The strange garb of the Kunbi created a disquiet in Mankar's mind. Later, this excellent devotee was totally attached to Sai and spent his days in Shirdi in steadfast devotion and faith, thereby experiencing fulfilment in life. Like a buzzing bee that hovers around the pollen of the lotus petals, Balramji was always hovering around Sai with a murmur of Sai's name on his lip. He thus stayed on in Shirdi. With Baba's permission, he did sometimes take himself out of Shirdi in the company of another devotee, Muktaram. But Shirdi always remained the center to which he returned time and again, and it was the sacred Shirdi that he finally gave up his mortal coil. Blessed was he who met Sai by virtue of his past merit, and being engrossed at his feet had a fearless death. Blessed was Tatyasaheb Noolkar. Blessed too was Megha, the most excellent among the devotees. Both gave up the body singing bhajan in Shirdi. So what happened to this person? He again went back to Bandra, to the place where his family used to stay. So after his entire period in Machindragarh, so even after taking a sannyasa, basically he's not taken the ochre robes, but he had counted himself as a spiritual aspirant and had gone towards Shirdi. Now in Shirdi, Baba had told him very clearly that you don't stay over here, you go somewhere else near Satara and stay over there. Now this is something which we need to understand. Though most of us are in spiritual world doesn't allow us to leave the whole world and walk away. It is not allowed in today's day and age, because today we are supposed to follow the path of devotion, not of jnana. So we are not jnanis, that like the person whom we are talking about, Mankar, he was a jnani, he wanted jnana. Today we cannot have jnana because our mind itself is corrupted, our whole intellect is corrupted, everything is corrupted. We have come to a level of Kali Yuga. So it is impossible for anybody to become a jnana yogi. That is a yogi who has absolute jnana. No knowledge there is a Brahma jnani as we call it. So today's day and age, the only path which is good enough and worthy enough to follow is devotional path. And that doesn't require anybody to go anywhere or leave anything. Now what happens is, when there are such kind of great sages, those who are very sincere can leave their part and they can come and be with that sage. That happens. Where a person can completely give up their physical world and can come and stay with the sage. We have seen that even with Baba over there in Andhra. There are people who are staying with him. They are not his relatives or anybody like that, but these are devotees of his. and they have come and stayed. Just like these people, they have also come and stayed. Just like Noolkar also. Just see Baba's emphasis on the last rites being performed and his friendliness towards his devotee when Megha died. Megha had already accomplished the purpose of the human birth. When the villagers went to cremate him accompanied by the devotee, Baba also went to the cremation ground and showered flowers on Megha. After the last rites were performed, there were tears in Baba's eyes too, like an ordinary sorrowing man who is caught up in the web of Maya. Very lovingly, Baba covered the corpse with flowers in his own hands and turned back, bemoaning the loss in a sorrowful tone. We come across many saints who will uplift the humanity. But oh, how can one describe the greatness of Sai Baba? A ferocious animal like the tiger, is he a jnani like man? But even he surrendered at Baba's feet, such was the incomprehensible way of Baba. Now listen attentively to a story in the context and you will see Baba's all-pervasiveness is equal concern for all. Once a miracle took place in Shirdi. Just 7 days before Baba's Mahasamadhi, a bullock cart came to the door. At the back was an enormous tiger with a fearful visage, who was firmly tied with thick iron chains around his neck. He had some ailment for which the dervishes, those who are also, again, these are Sufis. Okay, a dervish is a person who will wear black robes or sometimes white robes and all that. So those are dervishes. Had exhausted all the remedies. In the end, they thought that the best remedy would be a saint's darshan. There were 3 dervishes and the tigers were their means of livelihood. They would hold shows moving from village to village and thus eke out a living. While wandering in the region, Baba's wonderful Leela came to their ears, so they thought, let us take the darshan and also take the tiger to that place. His feet are like Chintamani, the boon-granting gem. All the 8 siddhis prostrate before him, and the 9 treasures all roll at his feet to take the holy water of his feet. So let us bow our head at his feet and ask for blessings for the tiger. By the saint's benediction, he will all prosper. For this purpose, the dervishes took the tiger down from the cart as the door, holding fast to the chains and stood waiting at the door. The tiger as it was fierce, terrible and wild, to add to which he was afflicted with some disease. He was therefore most restless. All stood watching the spectacle. The dervish then described to Baba in detail the condition of the tiger, and after first taking his permission, they came back to the door. The chains were then drawn up tightly so that the tiger may not break loose and escape. And very carefully they brought him in front of Sai. Near the step, the tiger looked at Sai, the blazing radiance, and God knows why, but he was quite startled within and bent his head down in great respect. And oh, what a miracle! As their eyes met, the tiger gazed lovingly at Baba and he was coming up the step. At once he puffed up the tuft of his tail, struck the ground thrice with it, and surrendered the body as Sai's feet. Impaired as he was, he fell down motionless. He gave only one terrifying roar and fell dead. There and then, in that instant, people gaped in wonder at such a death of the tiger. The dervishes looked sad, and yet they were happy too, that the ailing animal on the point of death was thus liberated. Great indeed is the merit for death before the eyes of sadhu and the saints. Then be it a worm, an insect or a tiger, he becomes free. At once from all his sins, there must have been some debt of his last birth which the tiger had now repaid, thus becoming free from it. At Sai's feet he gave up the body. The working of destiny are truly inconceivable. The creature who dies with the head on the saint's feet is at once uplifted. This is his real gain in this birth. Unless he was so very fortunate, it's possible that a creature will give up the physical body right in front of saint's eyes and will be liberated instantly. To renounce the body in front of the sadhu is a great happiness, as that the poison should be transformed into nectar or drinking it. Of such a death, there is neither joy nor sorrow. Blessed is the body of that creature who dies at the feet of the saint, for it becomes an offering to Lord Krishna, and there is no rebirth thereafter. Death in the form of saint in front of the saint is no death, but a blissful happiness of Vaikuntha. He has conquered the kingdom of death and is free from the sorrow of worldly life. Those who give up the body in front of the saint are not reborn, for that itself is the expiation of their sins, and there attain the moksha, leaving the mortal frame while gazing at the saint from head to toenails. Can this be called death? No, indeed. It is truly one's upliftment. Consider the event as predestined. Maybe he was some meritorious soul who, in flaunting his knowledge, had insulted the Haribhakt, a devotee of God. As a result of the curse was born in the cruel genre. and by a mitigation of the curse by the same Haribhakt had come to the feet of a saint. Truly the doings of these devotees are most remarkable. I feel that because of the mitigation of the curse he had Sai Darshan, which burnt up all his sins, snapped the bondage and put an end to his sufferings. As a result, he was automatically uplifted. Without a perfect good fortune, how can death come in front of a saint? As for the tiger, his threefold afflictions, the three putis, the three gunas were all destroyed and he became one with the Supreme. In this way, by virtue of the previous karma, his association with the wicked body was severed. His connection with the iron chains that were bound him were broken. Such is the divine law. Where else can you find the progression of upliftment except at the feet of sadhus and saints? And when the tiger attains that, the dervishes are naturally pleased at heart. The tiger was their means of livelihood, he was their bread and butter, so it was natural that their faces should become sad when the tiger died. Then they asked Maharaj, what should be done now? How should he be buried? Please give him with your own hands a good passage after death. Maharaj said, do not grieve, his end was to be here. Moreover, he too was meritorious that he attained such a great happiness. Beyond the Takiya, there is a Shiva temple. Carry him there and perform his burial rites near the Nandi. If you bury him there, he will have a good passage, and at the end, and at your hand, he will be freed from the debt from the bondage. He remained in your bondage until today only to repay your debt. See, this is very important. Being your debtor of the last birth. Sometimes when we have to pay the debt from our last birth, we can become a particular creature, or there may be something which you are attached to. Like you will find that there are dogs in the house. Sometimes you keep pets, you keep parrots, you keep dogs, you keep all these kind of creatures. They owe you something, and that is the reason why they exist in your world. Alright. The dervishes then lifted him up and went near the temple. He was buried in a ditch at the back of the Nandi. Oh, what a miracle it was to see the tiger dead in an instant. And had the incident ended at this point, it would have been forgotten. But exactly on the 7th day from it, Baba too left his mortal body on the ground. Hence it is that the memory of the incident surges in the mind again and again. The next chapter is even more interesting. Baba described his Guru's fond admiration and affection. How he satisfied the green desire of Gokhalebai by bestowing favor upon her. Hemad humbly surrenders at Sainath. Listen to how Baba won his Guru's grace by being suspended upside down in a well at the hand of the Guru. Will be to all. Here ends the 31st chapter of Shri Sai Satcharita, called The Importance of Sai Darshan, as inspired by the saints and the virtuous and composed by the devotee Hemad. So we'll end here. Yeah. The question which Padma has asked, I'll just see. But how does one know when death is knocking? Therefore, isn't it important to always have the Lord in our minds? Yes, that is exactly what you are supposed to do. See, the reason why the japa is there, given to you, those who have been given the Naam Japa, this is so very important that it has to keep on going on in us continuously. Sometimes we can say it loudly, sometimes it happens in our mind, sometimes it happens all by itself. When the japa is happening all by itself, which is a very, very beautiful thing, at that point in time, the end, even if it is whenever the end is, your body is still singing those same songs or the same words. So don't worry about all those things. When is the death going to come knocking? It can come any moment. There are no timings fixed for the death. Okay, and how does the death come? The death comes in a very, very peculiar manner. See, in our world, we believe that Yamdev, okay, he comes with his coterie and he takes away the soul, as they call it. Even in Christianity and every other religion, a similar observation is there. And those who have seen Yama are actually very fortunate. But if you have not seen, you are fortunate too. Because it is better not to see Yamdev but to see the Vaikuntavasis. It is always better to see people from the other world, not from that world. I had a darshan of Yamdev myself, so I know what I am talking about. The reverse phenomena had transformed at that point in time. So it was a reverse. And that is the reason why it is important to keep our mind on the Lord constantly. Very, very important. And to have the Lord's name at any given point in time, including our sleep, practicing the japa is very, very